Hello guys and welcome to Odds on Champions League. Yes, we are back with our favorite competition because we have the third round of qualifiers and we have some big names. We are going to analyze all 10 games with Dani Fisichella, but I also want to know your opinion. So write a comment below giving us your tips, and also if you enjoy our videos, press the like button, subscribe and click on the bell to get notifications. And now let's go on with the show. We are back with the Champions League because there are many interesting games in this qualification round. So let's analyze all 10 games with Dani. How are you, Dani?
Ciao Edu! Well, what break? No break at all for European football. Some of these teams have already started the season in June when we're in the middle of the Euros, and now this is the third qualifying round. Some big guns in this round. They're hoping to book a place in this year's Champions League.
There are always interesting games in Europe, so let's start with these 10 games, and we have a big name, Rangers, to start with. Malmo Rangers, because we all remember how Steven Gerrard's team won the Scottish Premier League after so many years, and even in this summer, Dani, they were able to beat Real Madrid, of course, in a final game, in a friendly game. The last time they played Champions League was in 2010, and now they are even favorites to beat Malmo, whose league started a long time ago, 13 games in the Swedish league. And Dani, we always say that the Scottish teams travel poorly, but last season Rangers did a very good job also in the Europa League.
Yeah, they were impressive in the Europa League, and well said from you. Yes, they had a very good campaign. In recent seasons in Europe, Rangers have beaten the like of Braga, Porto, Feyenoord, Legia Warsaw, Midtjylland, Galatasaray. So they are building a very good European pedigree. And the last season in Europa League, they were good up until the last round of 8. Now, Rangers have had a very positive pre-season, also a 0-0 against Arsenal. They will play this game after the home debut against Livingston. The objective for Steven Gerrard's team today is this season is to confirm their title, so make sure they win another title. Last year they won with 25 points above Celtic. If you look at where Celtic are now at the moment, and they're crushed out of the Champions League against Midtjylland, I think Rangers are definitely, they have a lot of chances to retain the title, also because they have invested well in the summer transfer. They brought Lundstram from Sheffield United on a free, one of the best utility midfielders, of the last few seasons. Obviously, he will have a good impact. And also, the interesting person up front is Fashion Sakala from Ostende, 16 goals last season in the Belgian league. He already scored in pre-seasons as well. Maybe the problem with Rangers is now they have perhaps too many players in the rosters and they need to sell. They traveled to Malmo, who had two small margin wins at home so far for the Swedish champions in the Champions League, but they are well underway in the league. Only one defeat this season in the cup, top of Swedish league. They also invested quite a lot in the market. They brought the Serbian Birmanovic and the Croatian Kolak to strengthen their attacks, both names that have been on the score sheet already quite a lot in the domestic league. But I think Rangers are a better team. They got more quality, they got a better European experience. I'm gonna go for a Rangers clean sheet this time, 275.
Okay, actually Malmo, you mentioned, they beat already Helsinki, and Riga is the third knockout game for them. Then we have Sparta Prague Monaco, one of the big names in this round. Monaco finished third in the league, and now they have Niko Kovac as a coach and some big names also in the roster: Ben Yedder, Keita Balde, Cesc Fabregas. Of course, they lost Jovetic this summer, and Sparta Prague now, they are not anymore the ruling team in Czech Republic. This is Slavia Prague. They finished second the league, and they had to play already a knockout game against Rapid Wien, which they won at home with a 2-0 result. That's why they advanced to this round. And Dani, of course, we have to expect Monaco, I guess, to win in Prague.
They are favorite. They go to Prague. The Sparta Prague had a good comeback against Rapid Vienna in the second half. They suffer more in the first leg. And, this is one of the teams that started the season very early. On the 11th of June, the Czech Championship is already underway. So obviously they're going to be up for it. They're going to be fit, whereas Monaco still have to start. This is going to be the first competitive game of the season. But if you look at Sparta Prague, the last season they finished 12 points behind Slavia Prague, and in Europa League they were unconvincing. They only beat Celtic twice. They finished third in the group with Milan and Lille. They could have done a little bit better, I think, especially at home. We were impressed with the Czech team at the Euros, but the bulk of players, they play for Slavia Prague, not for Sparta Prague. Only 2 of them play for Sparta Prague. Maybe one to watch, the 19 years old Adam Hojrek. He was somebody who came on as a substitute a few times during the Euros. He's a very good prospect. He's a number 10 second striker. He's definitely going to start. One to watch for this one. For Monaco, no big signings so far this season. Keita Balde might go back to Italy, of course, maybe between Sampdoria and Inter. They sold Ballo Touré to Milan, the defender. They replaced him with Ismail Jacobs from Cologne, and they had an okay preseason so far, results up and down. Golovin had a good preseason despite a very disappointing Euros, as all the Russian team. Milot, one of the best so far. And they have up front Pietro Pellegrini. Is he gonna be this season his breakthrough? Once he was hailed as the new phenomenon of Italian football. He was the youngest scorer in Serie A. Then he moved to France. He kind of lost himself a little bit also because of injuries. So Monaco is an interesting proposition. I think they're gonna go through in the tie. Monaco to win the first half, 250.
They should qualify for sure. Then let's go for smaller names. Cluj Young Boys, Romanian champion and Swiss champion. Also the Swiss championship already started. Before they were able to beat Slovan Bratislava in the playoff, whereas last season they were knockout against Midtjylland, 2 teams that sometimes they qualified actually for the group stage, not very often. And Cluj, Danny, they've been struggling. Even they played against Lincoln, a team from Gibraltar, and they didn't thrash them actually. They suffered a little bit to beat them. Also, they had to go to extra time to beat a Bosnian team, Borak Banja. So that leads me to the conclusion that, and also the bookies give Young Boys the favoritism, but the odds are good actually for the Swiss team to win, around 2.5.
Also because Cluj conceded 4 in these 4 games against Minos teams. They started the Romanian league with 2 wins, so they are up and running already in their campaign. But if we look at the European form, especially last year, they were disappointing. Only 1 win in the Europa League in last year. So, okay, they won the Romanian league, but are they going to be up to the standard of Young Boys, which Young Boys have been one of the most exciting teams in Europe. Last season, they won the league in Switzerland with 31 points margin. Yes, 31 points, over 10 games margin. And they also impressed in Europe. 4-3 win against Leverkusen was probably one of the best games in the Europa League. And let's not forget that last year, these 2 teams played each other in the Europa League. It finished 1-1 in Romania and then 2-1 for Young Boys in the last game, which could have decided the qualification. Crazy game. Cluj were 1-0 up until the 93rd minutes, then 2 goals in stoppage time for Young Boys, 3 red cards, so it was a very intensive game. We probably could see something like this this time around. I think Young Boys have kept the best players and they've done a good business for keeping the Cameroonian Nsame, who scored 19 goals last season, Siebachu from the US, 11 goals, and Fashnak, who played just behind them, 9 goals. So this front 3 is going to be exciting. I think they're going to be goals in this one. Let's go for the goals market. Over 2.5 goals, 225.
Then we move to another big name in Europe, Shakhtar Donetsk. They travel to Belgium to face Genk. None of them are going for the champions path. in this qualification round in the Champions League. Shakhtar, they did a pretty good job last season in the Champions League. Remember that they were with Real Madrid, Gladbach and Inter, and they were able to beat, for instance, Real Madrid in Valdebebas. Danny, their coach is someone that you know, the Italian De Cervi, always with interesting Brazilians, but they are not the ruling team again in Ukraine. Is Dinamo de Kiev. Actually, they finished 11 points behind them, whereas Genk, last time they played the Champions League was in 2019, so not long time ago, and also they already started to compete. They lost actually the Super Cup in Belgium.
This is the one that I've circled as the potential tie of this round. I think this is a real interesting game with two teams that play on the front foot, they play exciting football, and especially I'm so interested and so excited to see what De Zerbi is gonna bring to Shakhtar. But let's start with Genk. Last year they competed the championship up until pretty much the last couple of weeks, and also they have a very interesting striker, Paul Onochu, 35 goals last year in all competitions, so they are a force to be considered. But Shakhtar, they appointed De Zerbi, courageous decision, somebody who always want to play propositive football, that has taken Sassuolo into the next step. You see at the European Championship, Berardi, Locatelli, these are all product of De Zerbi, of that way of play with your head up high and try to attack the spaces, attack the opposition, dominate possession. And also Shakhtar, let's not forget, they already have a good blend of Brazilian technical players, Ukrainians who play for Ukraine who did well at the Euros, and they brought three good signings. Pedrinho from Benfica, central midfielder, he's going to dictate the play, 18 millions they spent for him, so it's a big investment. Lassina Traoré from Ajax, quick, pacey wingers, he's going to play in that 4-3-3 that De Zerbi loves, and Marlon from Sassuolo, of course, playing at the back, one of De Zerbi's favorite players in the Neroverdi. So I think this is going to be tight, they're going to be goals. I fancy Shakhtar to take the lead. Not great odds, but I think you can think they're going to go and start strongly. So Shakhtar to score first, 187.
Then we go to Holland, PSV Midtjylland. The best game in the previous round was PSV Galatasaray, and the Dutch team thrashed the Turkish one 5-1 at home, 1-2 in Turkey, with Hahavi scoring a hat-trick. Also Götze, which is always a good positive news to see him scoring again. He scored a brace last season. They finished second in the Dutch Eredivisie, whereas Midtjylland, Danny, we already mentioned them, and actually it's a name that is going to pop up more in this video because they are always in this qualification round in the Champions League. And they were able already to beat Celtic and be the surprise, we can say, of the previous round.
Of course, Midtjylland, in the game we settled Celtic, actually in the two games, I think they were second best for at least 2/3 of the two ties. So they should have been beaten by 2 or 3 goals in the first leg. In the second leg, they should have been behind because Celtic missed so many chances to close the game. But somehow, Midtjylland, the Norwegian, they managed to stay in the game, and then thanks to their most technical players they got up front, they turn the tie around. I think last year experience in the Champions League really helped Midtjylland, because let's not forget they were in a tough group with Atalanta, with Liverpool, with Ajax, and yes, they got beaten quite often, but they didn't go out in a bad way. I think actually they had some good performances, especially against the top teams. There are 2 players that I think are really interesting for Midtjylland. Evander, the Brazilian number 10, such a sweet right foot, and he's the creator. Great games both times against Celtic. And Pione Sisto, who used to play for Denmark, now he's playing there on the wing. Pacey, good feet, can deliver the crosses. Maybe Midtjylland misses the big striker up front. Again, they played a couple of domestic games as well, so they're gonna be perhaps more fit. For PSV, impressive against Galatasaray, as you mentioned. This is a team that's got talent. They got Götze, Philip Max, David Proper used to play for Brighton. They sold Malen this week to Borussia Dortmund. They are still hanging on to Denzel Dumfries, one of the best players, at least probably one of the best wing backs at the Euros. Are they gonna keep him for another season? I'm not sure. But this is a team that, you know, in Europe they do well. Last year they won the Europa League group. Then they lost to Olympiacos. I think they are a better class for Midtjylland. I think they're not gonna miss as many chances as Celtic are gonna did. So PSV to win the first half, 2.26.
The odds are really low actually for PSV to win the game. Odds 1.49. 2018 was the last time that the Dutch club qualified for the group stages. Another classic of the Champions League is Olympiacos. They are playing at home against the Bulgarian champions, Ludogorets. Of course, Olympiacos really favorites. Ludogorets last year, actually, they were kicked out of the Champions League by Midtjylland, and so far they beat an Slovenian team, Mura, and a Belarusian team, Shakhtar Donetsk. I laugh because I've never heard this game, not even playing FIFA. And Olympiacos, they were able to beat Nevsty Baku. Before, of course, they are favorites. They have big names in the roster, like Mathieu Valbuena especially.
Olympiacos, they are a classic of the Champions League group stage. Sometimes they don't go far enough. Obviously, this is a classical team that finished third in the group and then go to the Europa League. But, you know, at home, they are a force. They are difficult to beat against teams of their level or just slightly better. And I think for this, that's why they are a favorite. Last year, for example, at home, they beat Marseille in the Champions League. Then they beat PSV Eindhoven in the Europa League. 2 years ago in the Champions League, they managed to do 2-2 against Spurs. They beat the Star Belgrade. So, you know, we're talking about teams with good pedigree and good players. They got some talent, as you mentioned, Valbuena. They also have Al-Arabi, Villa, players that maybe used to be better, or maybe players that we thought they're gonna get better than what they are, but actually at this level they can compete well and they are solid. Sometimes they don't score enough in Europe, Olympiacos, but let's not forget last year they dominated the Greek league. They won with 16 points margin. Ludogorets, yes, they had a very easy route in this Champions League qualification. They started the season very early in July. Pretty much is the same team that last year did awfully in the Europa League. Bottom of the group with 0 points. They only signed an Ukrainian defender from Genk, Pashtun, but you know, it's that team. It's a team that last year was gonna miss on their title. They were gonna do really badly up until January when they changed the manager and they appointed the Lithuania Dambauskas, who revitalized them a little bit. But I think for this one, Ludogorets, I can't see them go past the Greek champions. I'm going to go actually for a clean sheet for the Olympiacos at home, 2.10.
Then we are going to learn more about European geography in the next game. Red Star from Belgrade, Sheriff Tiraspol from Moldova, because, Red Star, they are both actually coming for the last round of qualification. They were able to beat Kairat Almaty 5-0 in the second leg after losing in Kazakhstan. Whereas Sheriff Dani, they already beat Alashkert Martuni and Teuta Maures from Albania. Another two teams that they are, I would say, never in this kind of rounds of qualification. Of course, playing in the Little Maracana, Red Star is a classic of Euro, and they are so favorite, odds 1.39.
Absolutely. Although this season they've started a little bit slowly in the Serbian league. They lost, strangely, the first leg also of the Champions League qualification against the champions of Kazakhstan. Then they beat them 5-0 at the Maracana. But let's not forget, Red Star last season at home, they were unbeatable. In fact, they only lost one game. They done the double cup and league under Dejan Stankovic. And also they were so convincing in Europe as well. well. They lost to Milan in the Europa League, but they really gave Milan a good run for the money. Probably they didn't deserve to lose. It's a team that plays, proposed football, really aggressive. Good signing in the summer, Alexander Dragovic from Bayer Leverkusen. We saw him playing 4 times for Austria at the Euros, so they strengthen the team, and they play Sheriff Tiraspol. Very interesting. It's probably the most interesting team in this round, also because it's a mix of nationalities. You got players from all over the world playing for the Moldovan champion. Probably the less present players are from Moldova in this team. Could they be the surprise? I'm not sure, also because in the last 2 seasons they didn't make it into the group stages of European competition, so they get knocked out of the Champions League early, then they get knocked out of the Europa League early. They don't have an European pedigree, so as Bob Marley said, I think Red Star Belgrade, they're gonna shoot the Sheriff. Red Star to score in both halves, 2-21.
Then we have 2 big names, Spartak Moscow, Benfica. Benfica finished 3rd last season in Portugal, 9 points behind Sporting, also behind Porto. The good times for them had passed, but they still had Jorge Jesus on the bench, the coach that he won so many titles for Benfica, whereas Spartak Moscow, Dani, finished 2nd in the Russian Premier League last season, 8 points behind Zenit, and they have big names also in their squad, Victor Moses, Kinsey Promes, and the last time they played in the group stages of the Champions League is in 2017. Long time for a big name in Russia.
A big team that is a little bit in disarray, Spartak Moscow. They lost themselves a little bit. They got a new manager though, the Portuguese Rui Vitória, who did he manage? Benfica for 4 years, and he won 2 leagues there. He got sacked in 2019, so he might want revenge. For Spartak Moscow, they will be probably without the best player, who's Ezequiel Ponce, who scored 10 goals last season because he played in the Olympics with Argentina and crashed out of the Olympics, but he probably needs a little bit of rest. You mentioned Quincy Promes. Has he actually lived to his expectations from Ajax, from Seville? He's a player that, I don't know, we were expecting a little bit more from him, and he disappointed maybe a bit last year, only 3 goals. The main man for Spartak Moscow is the big striker Shobolev, 15 goals last season, but we didn't really see him at the Euros in Russia. He didn't make it too many times on the pitch, only 35 minutes. So I don't know, I'm not sure about the overall level of the team. If that's your star and he doesn't quite make it to the Russian team, that was disappointing. For Benfica, busy in the transfer market so far. They got João Mario from rival Sportings via Inter because they need to replace Pedrinho. Went to Shakhtar. Meite from Torino, another big signing for them, almost 8 million. They sold Franco Servi, who was very good last season, to Spain. They are an experienced team, as the captain is Otamendi, so teams with players that have been there, have done it. Again, maybe players who kind of passed the peak, but they could still maybe perform at this level. And then obviously they got one of my favorite players, one of the players that done the best in the Euros, Seferovic. I think this is a player that deserves probably a bigger stage than Benfica. Is the first official game for them. I think this is going to be a tight one, low scoring game, so I like the both to score no, 2.10.
João Mario, Inter paid a lot of money for
one of the record signings. Yes, he was. Yes, he didn't perform.
Then we go to Croatia, Dinamo Zagreb, Legia Warsaw, 2 teams that are cruising in their leagues most of the times. Dinamo Zagreb, they were great last season in the Europa League. We all remember that they were able to knock and to shock Tottenham. They have Orsic, they have Gabranovic, they have good names, and they are so favorites, Dani, but the odds are quite good, actually, 1.75 to beat Legia Warsaw, a team that once they qualify for the group stages of the Champions League, but usually they are knocked out in this stage. They were able already to beat Flora Tagin in both legs and also Bodo Glimt.
Yeah, and Dinamo Zagreb, his favorite, because they're such a strong group, they got such a strong cohesion, which they showed, especially last season in Europe. Surprisingly, this season they've lost the debut in the Croatian league, maybe because the many absentees. You mentioned Orisic, Gavranovic, they also have Ademi, who plays for Macedonia, was at the Euros, and last year, let's not forget, they won the league by 12 points, so very comfortably, but in Europe, they only lost by 1 goal margin to Villarreal in the quarterfinals after the great victory against Spurs. For Legia, they struggle against Bodo Glimt in the first round. They beat Flora Tallinn more comfortably. They haven't got great names in the squad. Maybe the hope they bought this new Azerbaijani striker Mahir Ekmeli. He scored 50 for Karabakh in the last few seasons. Already scored 3, so he could be the surprise. And then you got Thomas Perkat. He scored 22 goals last year. He was the main man who helped them to the championship. Real journeyman. He played in Spain, he played in Saudi Arabia, he even played in the Premier League. Maybe if you're a Southampton fan, you might remember he scored 1 goal for you, so that he's the main man. But he's gonna score in Zagreb, not sure. Asian handicap, Dinamo Zagreb -1, 229.
Easy victory then for you for Dinamo Zagreb, a really favorite. And the last game is a good one. Ferencvaros, Slavia Prague. Slavia Prague is a team that we love, Danny, in our videos, also with Alvaro in the Europa League. We always say, be careful with them, be careful with them. And they did an amazing Europa League last season. They lost in the preview against Midtjylland in the Champions League last season, but then in the Europa League, they did great. In 2019 was the last time they were in the group stages of the Champions League, whereas Ferencvaros, they were able to play in the Champions League last season with Juventus and Barcelona, for instance, in the group. And so far, they've knocked out Žalgiris Kaunas and Pristina, winning all 4 games.
I think one of these two teams is gonna go to the group stages of the Champions League. They're gonna go all the way, because Ferencvaros is building up international experience. And last year in the Champions League, they went through 3 knockout stages. Then they lost most of the games, obviously, in the group. It was a tough group. And, in the end, they were battling with Dynamo Kiev to go to the Europa League, lost 1-0 the last games, but they could have made it. I remember in that game, they missed quite a lot of chances. It's interesting with Ferencvaros to see how they develop. We know how important this football is for the Hungarian government, how much money they've invested, how much they spend. We have seen as well at the Euros, the Hungarian football movements to how it took on. They were probably the biggest surprise of the group stages. However, at club levels, they haven't quite delivered yet, despite the massive improvement. And if you look at the roster of the national team, not many players play for Ferencvaros. For Slavia Prague, we saw it's completely the opposite. They got 3 or 4 players that are key, important to the national team: Holes, Boril, Mazopust. They have already European experience. Last year, they went to the quarterfinals Europa League. They knocked out Leicester and Rangers. So they are a force to be contended with. 2 years ago, they qualified for the group stages of the Champions League. I think this is going to be interesting. It's going to be very difficult to see who's going to win it. For example, I give you an example. If you go on the both to score market, yes or no pays exactly the same, 191. That means the bookies are really split on who's gonna score or first, etc. I think Slavia Prague to score first could be a good value. Again, 191. If you think the Czech got more talent and they can take on the games to the Hungarian a bit more and take the lead in Budapest.
Danny, you know so much, you know a lot. Thanks for analyzing this thing.
I only know what's on the internet, and I try to convey it in the best possible way without boring you too much.
There are some things that are very challenging. All right, thank you, Danny, and see you then very soon. Enjoy Champions League.
See you soon. Enjoy Champions League.
You see that he knows a lot about European football, some unknown names in this round, especially also in the previous one. Let me know what you think about the games in the comment section. And of course, you can support us by clicking on the like, subscribing to our channel, and of course click on the bell to get notifications. Also, if you prefer, you can listen to our videos in our podcast. See you very soon.